Welcome back. Today's lesson is Writing 6B Part 2, so please get your students' books and workbooks ready. We have three objectives. Objective 1, streamline ideas to plan writing and discussion essay. Objective 2, apply understanding of correction code to correct common mistakes in an essay. Objective 3, compose a discussion essay following the tips. Look at the following question. Why do people travel? Pause the video and try to think about the question. Okay, so people travel to discover new places, good, or meet family, excellent. What else? Look for a job, excellent. And to study. And this is what we are going to focus on today. Now, please open your student's book on page 81. Question F. Read the writing task and the tip below, then go to the workbook page 70 until 72 to plan and write your essay. So we are going to plan and write. Now, what is the topic about? You have been asked to write an essay on the following topic. Would you like to study abroad? What are the pros and cons? Okay, so first we are going to plan. After that, we are going to write. Is it enough to plan and write? No, it isn't. Because after writing, you have to check what you already did. Okay, now in your opinion, what are the advantages and disadvantages of studying abroad? So on the same page, page 81 on the student book, I want you to pause the video and think about 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages about the topic of studying abroad. Okay, now let's start with the advantages. So when people study abroad, they can get to know another culture. Also, learning to become more responsible and independent. And finally, having friends abroad. Now, what about the disadvantages? Number 1, it's very expensive. Number 2, missing my family. And number 3, a new lifestyle. Dear students, please open your workbook on page 70 and try to plan your essay, and then we are going to carry on. Okay, let's start with paragraph 1, which is about the introduction. But before you write, what are you writing? You have to ask yourself this question. I'm writing a discussion essay. Okay, now let's brainstorm ideas for our essay. The introduction, which is the first paragraph. What is the topic of the essay? I'm writing about the advantages and disadvantages of studying abroad. Now let's move on to part number 2, which is the main part. According to the advantages and disadvantages we already discussed in the previous slides, we are going to rearrange our ideas and try to put more explanation and examples. Okay, let's start with paragraph 2. What are the advantages? So we said advantage 1 is to know a different culture. But it's not enough to only state the argument. You have also to provide an explanation or an example. So for number 1, learn to appreciate it. Okay, what's advantage 2? It's to become more responsible. How can I explain it or give an example? To deal with difficult situation. All right. Advantage number 3, to make new friends. And how can I explain it? To enjoy their company. Now let's move on to paragraph 3. What are the disadvantages? And remember, you have to provide an argument and an explanation or an example. Okay, so number 1, it's costly. Okay, let's make an explanation or provide an example. So these are examples: the registration, the rent, and the living cost. Okay, number 2, missing my family. How can I explain it? You will feel lonely if you miss your family. And finally, a new lifestyle. For example, a different language and food. Now the last paragraph, which is the conclusion, the final paragraph. So you should provide a general statement. For example, studying abroad is difficult but rewarding. So here I stated both sides, the pros and the cons. Now what's your personal opinion about the topic? I believe that the advantages outweigh the advantages. Before writing your essay, let's read the following tip on the student book on page 81. When writing an essay discussing advantages and disadvantages, think about the topic carefully. Number 2, choose 2 or 3 ideas or points, the ones that you can explain and support for each paragraph of the main part, and don't try to deal with too many points. After that, use a variety of linking words or phrases to list points, add points, express contrast, give your opinion, and sum up. After that, write in a formal style and do not use short forms. After that, avoid introducing any new ideas in the conclusion. Next, use a variety of techniques such as rhetorical questions, address the reader directly, use exclamations, and include quotations to begin and end your essay to catch the reader's attention. Now, one last thing. Remember to check your grammar, punctuation, spelling while and after writing your essay. Let's do activity D on the student book, page 81. The following paragraph has a number of mistakes which have been marked using the correction code below. Read the paragraph and correct the mistakes. So I want you to read the correction code and then we will be back to correct the mistakes. Okay, time to correct. Mistake number 1, athlete, which is a spelling mistake. It should be written like this, A-T-H-L-E-T-E. After that, had, which is a tense mistake, it becomes has. Then, name big, which is a word order mistake, becomes big name. Then we have a missing word, and it's to. Then, wrong word, fames becomes fame, the noun. And then we have a punctuation mistake, the question mark becomes a full stop. Then an article mistake, a becomes the. And finally here we have a preposition mistake, in becomes to. Time to write your essay. Dear students, please take a workbook on page 71 and start writing your essay, and then I'm going to show you a suggested answer. Okay, let's start with paragraph 1, Introduction. Have you ever considered studying abroad when you finish school? I certainly have. Actually, the idea of moving to another country to study seems quite exciting to me. But like all issues, studying abroad has its pros and cons, both of which need careful consideration. Okay, so first we started with addressing the reader directly. Very good. Then you should mention presenting the topic. And finally, you have to state the two sides. Okay, let's move on to paragraph 2, the advantages. There are several advantages to studying abroad. First of all, I could get to know a culture different from my own and learn to appreciate it. Apart from that, like most students who move abroad to study, I would become more responsible and independent as I would have to deal with difficult situations on my own. What's more, I would have the opportunity to make new friends abroad and enjoy their company. Okay, so in paragraph 2, you should start with a topic sentence, and then you have argument 1, argument 2, and argument number 3. And don't forget the linkers of addition and listing. Paragraph 3, the disadvantages. On the other hand, I cannot ignore the disadvantages of studying abroad. To begin with, the cost involved in studying abroad can be quite high, as I would not only have to pay for university classes but also for personal expenses, such as rent. Moreover, there is also a personal cost, as I would definitely miss my family and friends. As a result, I worry I would often feel lonely. But last but not least, it's not easy to cope with a new lifestyle as you have to deal with different language and different kinds of food. So in paragraph 3, you should start also with a topic sentence, then argument 1, argument 2, and argument number 3. And of course, don't forget this one, on the other hand, which is the linker of contrast, okay, and of course 3 linkers for listing. Paragraph 4, conclusion. So all in all, is studying abroad a risk worth taking? Personally, I believe that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. In my opinion, studying abroad is difficult but rewarding, and I would definitely do it. So here we started with a rhetorical question, then personal opinion, and we mentioned a general statement. And don't forget the linker of summing up. Finally, after you have written your essay, you have to do the following checklist. Make sure all of them are being ticked. So read them very carefully and make sure they are all being ticked.